Hello and welcome to Comics Corner with me, your host, Connor Nolan. Over the course of each episode, I'm going to break down a comic book story and discuss its main character's plot, talk a little bit about the fan reception, give it my own personal rating, and also where you can find the comic book. Now, sit back, relax, and get ready to learn about comics. Hello and welcome back, everybody, and today have we got another story for you. Today we are covering another What If book. Also, I just want to point out again that What If literally asks the question, what if something was different in the Marvel Universe? So, just keep that in mind. So today we are covering What If the Fantastic Four had different superpowers, which takes place in What If issue number 6. And in case you didn't realize when I said Marvel earlier, you guessed it, it's published by Marvel. It came out in 1977. It was written by Roy Thomas, and there was a whole slew of authors that he noted in the book that helped him come up with the idea, but Roy Thomas is the main writer for this story. Now, this is the Fantastic Four. So, the main characters are Reed Richards, Susan Storm, Jonathan Storm, Benjamin Grimm, and Victor Von Doom. But it's not the Fantastic Four that you're thinking of. This is literally what if they had different superpowers. So, to start off, we have Big Brain, which is Reed Richards, and he's got telekinesis, telepathy, and psychic blasts. And something else I want to point out about him, so when I was doing research, apparently the reason that he was named Big Brain is because that is one of the nicknames that Ben Grimm gives him in the main continuity. Then we have Ultra Woman, who is Susan Storm. She has the ability to mold and shape her body into any form at will. So basically, she has the main Marvel continuities, Mr. Fantastic, stretching abilities and stuff like that. Also, when I was doing research for this, it turns out that the reason that Roy Thomas made sure that she was named Woman in this story is because for the longest time she was called the Invisible Girl, and that didn't sit right with him because she's a woman, she's strong. Then we have the Mandroid, which is Jonathan Storm. He's got super strength, a steel body, and by the end of the issue he gets magnetic powers, and he kind of looks like Colossus, which is really funny. Then we have Dragonfly, which is Benjamin Grimm, and he has the ability to fly because he has dragon-like wings. Just that's what it is. It's normal human Ben Grimm with dragon-like wings. And then we've got Doctor Doom, and he is the closest to the main Marvel continuity character out of this whole issue. So I'm just going to go very, very, very briefly over his powers. It's Victor Von Doom. He's got magic, so blast people with magic, blah, blah, blah. He's got magic. He's also a genius, and then he's got armor, so he's got super strength. He can shoot blasts of electricity, all of that good stuff that you can do with super powered armor, and he's got a bunch of gadgets in this story. Now, we're going to go on to the plot. So, jumping into the plot, I just want to start off by saying this cover is really interesting and also a little misleading, because we have both Fantastic Four groups. So we've got Invisible Woman versus Ultra Woman. We've got Mandroid versus the Human Torch. We've got Big Brain versus Mr. Fantastic. And then we've got the Dragonfly versus the Thing. And I don't really know why. I mean, it's cool, but, I don't really get it. It is what it is. But jumping into the actual plot, we pick up with the Watcher. He's talking about the Fantastic Four. We see our Fantastic Four, and they seem to be fighting a group of hooded people. I don't really know. They don't really explain. We see each of their powers individually used. We see the Invisible Woman protecting Mr. Fantastic from bullets. We see them fighting, and we see them I'm sorry, but this is the Fantastic Four. Why would you come at them with guns? They're not even big guns. They're pistols, and these guys are superheroes, and I don't understand that whole thing, but you know, it is what it is. And we just see the Fantastic Four make short work of them, and we get a little monologue from each of them. It's a little snippet about their powers, and we see the Watcher, and we see how the Fantastic Four got their powers. We see that whole great scene that we've seen 1,000 times. It's great. I love it. We love it. We see it all the time. It's a little sickening how many times we see it. But then we've got, but what if there was a slight difference, and we see the Fantastic Four from this universe get their powers, and we see Sue, Johnny, and Ben get out of it. Ben's complaining about back problem, and then boom, he gets wings. And I got to say, these wings are beautiful. Like, I personally am not a fan of the flashier colors, like the more pastel-y colors, but for this, it works beautifully. And it's literally just human Ben Grimm with the set of wings. And then we see Johnny, and he's slowly turning into metal, and he gets super strength. Sue reaches to go and get him, and then she starts stretching. And I'm like, yo, I like Susan Storm with stretchy powers. It's cool. And then their rocket explodes, and we don't see Reed. But then they hear Reed in their minds, and then it turns out that Reed was turned into a brain. You heard me. A literal brain. And I'm sorry, but that's funny because there are so many jokes made between then and now about Reed Richards and his intelligence, and that's all he is. It's really funny to see him literally turned into the thing that he gets made fun of for. And we see that they become the Fantastic Four. It's really funny to see Johnny in the Thing trunks. Like, it's not the Thing trunks, but it is the Thing trunks. He's also got these really cool bracers, and we see these people try to steal Blackbeard's treasure. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why does Blackbeard's treasure matter? And let me tell you something. I don't know. It's not really explained. But we see the Fantastic Four, well, actually the Fantastic Three at this moment in time, take care of these people, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Doesn't matter what version of Fantastic Four they are, they're an awesome butt-kicking team no matter what. Then we see the mastermind behind the diabolical plot to steal Blackbeard's treasure. It is none other than Doom. And he looks exactly like he does in normal Marvel continuity. He gets annoyed, and he's like, however will they do this? And apparently, this is a play on how the Fantastic Four originally came across Doctor Doom. He does a little digging with some magic. He talks a little bit about their exploits and how they fought, Submariner, the Skrulls, the Mole Man, and then he figures out that the brain is Richards, and he starts losing his mind. Like, he got a voodoo doll or something, and he, pops its head off. It's a little creepy, not gonna lie. And he's like, I will get you, Richards, no matter what. Then we see Reed Richards, and he's floating around in a bunch of tubes in the Baxter building. Because, I'm a brain, let me make a bunch of tubes, and I'll just float around in them all day. That's, it is what it is. But that's a little weird if you ask me. Then we see Ben in public. He's kind of getting, attacked by people because they keep touching his wings, and then he flies off and he's like, nah, I'm out, bro. And then we see Johnny in an electronics store, and a lot of stuff is going haywire because he's literally made of metal, and as we find out later, he gets magnetic powers. Then we see Sue at the park with a bunch of kids, and she was thinking about how she was going to get married to Reed and they were going to have kids, but now they can't because he's a literal brain. And she's like, but I feel feelings for Ben too. Oh no, what should I do? I don't know why this was included. I don't know why this is a little subplot in here, but it is what it is. Then we see Reed, and he's talking to himself about how he's brain now, and how he wishes things could be different, but he's still the person he was, and he still loves her. And then we see him meet Doom, and Doom's all like, ho ho ho, I can give you a body. And Reed's like, but my body is this building. And he's like, but even if your body is this building, can you still love? Can you still feel emotions? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, but can you be with her? And so he convinces Reed to go with him so that they can get a new body for him. And then we see Sue, Johnny, and Ben. They're coming up to the Baxter building. Reed and Doom are still talking a little bit. We see Reed get into this travel mug type thing. It's not actually travel mug, but like, you know, it's as close to a travel mug as you're gonna get for a little floating brain. And Doom sticks him in a rocket, and because Doom is stealing the brain, Johnny comes up and is like, yo, what are you doing? And Zoom's like, oh, ho, ho, eat laser, loser. So he beats him up. He like knocks him out with one punch, and then, oh no, my powers aren't working, says Reed. But who would have ever guessed that Doom would have double crossed you? And then Sue and Ben come and find Johnny. He tells them what happened. They fly to Latveria. And then, guess what? Doom double-crossed him and plugs Reed's brain into a time machine because his psychic powers power the time machine, and that's how Doom is gonna travel back in time to steal Blackbeard's treasure and a bunch of other stuff, because that makes sense. But then the other members of the Fantastic Four break into Doom's castle, and they split their separate ways, and they go to try and find Reed. Sue gets stuck in cement, but she's able to stretch and mold her body and get out. We see Ben, and he's flying through, and he's almost getting stabbed by a bunch of metal poles, but, expert pilot flies through it, no problem. Then we see Johnny gets stuck by a magnet and almost crushed by giant rollers, but then he figures out that he has magnetic powers and shunts them all away. They then meet up to go and attack Doom. Reed starts attacking Doom with his brain powers, and then there's just an all-out fight. It's really interesting because Ben's like, I gotta get Reed out of here, but then he gets shot literally by Doom. Then we've got Johnny versus Doom again, and I don't know how this happens. I don't know if this is a laser beam, I don't know if this is a punch or what, but Johnny's arm gets torn off, and Doom's suit of armor is broken a little bit, and we see them fight. Then we see Sue go at him, and then he just smacks her. He just smacks her, and I'm like, yo, what the heck? And Reed loses his mind and just starts blasting Doom with mental powers, and then there's a big explosion because Doom hit a button, and then it turns out that Reed switched consciousnesses with Doom, and we see that he takes over the body of Doom. He then goes on and renames himself Mr. Fantastic, and they are the new Fantastic Four. Then we see the Watcher say, now you know what happened on this Earth, and, we're gonna see about what happens next time. Dun dun dun! Alright everybody, this is a part of the show when we talk about the fan reception, where you can purchase it, and my own personal rating. So, starting off with fan reception, it's really hard to tell how single issues of the original What If storyline, where they take one thing and say, what if this happened differently, how it was received, but it was reprinted in True Believers What If the Fantastic Four Had Different Superpowers in 2018, and that sold about 12,000 copies. So, with that in mind, we can kind of guesstimate, speculate, that people liked it. They didn't love it, they didn't hate it, but they definitely liked it because, 12,000 copies is 12,000 copies. Now, where you can purchase it, you can find it in What If Omnibus. That is a collection of What If stories from the original 1977 storyline, and this story is included in it. You can find it in the reprinted form, like I mentioned earlier, in True Believers. You can find it on Marvel Unlimited. I'm sure if you dug hard enough, you could find it on other online sellers as well. Now, for my own personal rating, I am going to give it a 7. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why? Well, there are some things in this book that I don't really understand why it was done and why it needed to happen that way, but that's beyond me. Like, my biggest thing is, why was Reed Richards' brain the power source for the time machine? Like, I get that Von Doom hates him. I get that. It makes total sense. But how would psychic energy actually, power a time machine? I didn't get that. But I mean, other than that, I liked it. A couple things were changed. I thought it was really funny at the end when they showed the Doctor Doom suit with the Fantastic Four logo on it. But yeah, overall, I give it a 7. Thanks so much for listening to Comics Corner with me, Connor Nolan. If you like what you heard today, why don't you tell your friends about it and share it all around? And if you have any suggestions for what comics should be next on the show, leave a comment down below. And remember, comics are king.